Hi, I'm Auntie Tam, and welcome back to our series on trauma. I talk about mental health awareness, life skills, and life advice on my channel. If you really like this content, you can like and subscribe. Click the bell icon so you can get notifications. If you want, you can also make a donation to my Patreon and my Buy Me a Coffee so that I can bring you more and better mental health content. I'm not a psychologist, psychiatrist, or counselor. I am also not any kind of medical professional. Everything that I'm talking to you about comes from my own lived experience, the research I've done, and the conversations I've had with professionals in the field. I warn you ahead that the videos that you're going to be watching in this series may contain subjects like spousal abuse, sexual assault, suicide, and other very difficult topics which some viewers may find disturbing or distressing. So I warn you ahead of time that this may be difficult for you to watch. It may be difficult for you to experience, in which case you are more than welcome to click away and watch something else, because we do delve into some heavy topics here. And I feel it's quite important to talk about because there are so many of us who have experienced trauma that we're not effectively dealing with. So, without a further ado, here's our next video. Hi, and welcome back to our trauma series. I know I've taken a little bit of a break because doing this series has actually been quite intense for me. And today we are covering a topic which some people may find triggering. So if this is a triggering issue for you, you're more than welcome to click away and not engage in the video, because we will be discussing domestic violence. And so, obviously, with domestic violence, we are going to be talking about psychological, emotional, mental, even financial, sexual, and physical violence. And I do caution you, if you've experienced this and you feel that it may be triggering for you, to just skip this video and wait for the next one, because this may be upsetting to some people who watch it. Okay, so let's get into it. What is domestic violence? It is any sort of violence acted upon a domestic partner. I personally, this is not the official interpretation, but I would personally put domestic violence. I would include children who have been abused as well under domestic violence. We've seen a lot of this in South Africa, and I'm pretty sure it's an issue across the globe, and it's not something that some people talk about. It's something that a lot of people just keep hidden because of the traumatic experience that they had and because of the long-term effects it has, actually. And the thing is with domestic violence is that it can cause a cascade of issues. So if I look at my family particularly, um, I can go as on my mother's side, my grandfather was physically abusive towards my grandmother and to his children. And from there, the cascade comes down that my mother was mentally and emotionally abusive towards my sister and myself. So obviously, this is something that can come down from generations because this is how it's perpetuated. And I know that a lot of people are talking about generational curses and things like that. That's something we can talk about at a later stage. But just briefly, I'm not talking about a generational curse as in some hooga booga kind of magic thing. I'm talking about it as a curse that comes down from generations of abuse. So this person is abusing their children. That person has children. They abuse their children. This person then abuses theirs, and so it's you've heard a lot of stuff about stopping the cycle, and we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to the generations that follow us to stop the cycle. So that's my PSA for the day. So let's talk about it. It's people may experience
physical abuse, in which there is physical violence acted upon somebody, psychological and mental and emotional abuse, which is manipulation, gaslighting, control. Hectic. There's sexual abuse as well, and this is something we don't talk about if we've experienced domestic violence, because whether it's been physical or mental, we often skip over the sexual abuse part because we think of it as a gray area, and we'll get into that in a bit more detail. And even I would go as far as there's also financial abuse, because some people, maybe the person who is being abused in the relationship, may be the one who's the provider and always having to fork out money for the person who is the abuser, even if they have money. So I want to talk to you a little bit about my personal experience. And before I do that, I just want to say that domestic violence in a partnership is not necessarily a man putting violence on a woman. It could be the other way around, with a woman putting violence on a man. It could be same-sex relationships. It could be transgender relationships. Domestic violence does not just occur in a heterosexual or a heteronormative environment. It occurs across the board. And I have heard of a female couple where one partner actually inflicted sexual violence on her partner. So yes, it is very possible, and it's not something that we can skip over. So coming back to my experience, one of the things that I always thought was I'm too intelligent. Oh, word, how young was I? Too intelligent to get into a domestic violence situation, because I was in my 20s and I thought I was so clever, and that's not the case. Anyone can find themselves in a domestic violence situation. It doesn't matter what part of society you're coming from, although domestic violence seems to be more prevalent where there are issues of poverty and survival. And but it really doesn't matter what your background is. You could be the wealthiest fuck on the face of the planet, or you could be the poorest person on the face of the planet. It doesn't matter. Domestic violence does not occur just in one class group or one intelligence group, like I was stupidly thinking. But when you're older, you learn, and when you know better, you do better. So it happened incredibly subtly, because a lot of people ask, how do women or people get into a domestic violence situation? It happens so subtly. You don't even realize that it's happening, because this person comes along, they're incredibly charming. They're saying all the things that you want to hear because your self-esteem is a little bit low. So they're saying things like, you are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You are so incredible. You are so intelligent. You're incredibly special. They may even come out with things like, I believe that we were destined to be soulmates. I believe that we were lovers in a previous life. Whatever, environment you're from, or whatever religious group you're from, it is so addictive to hear somebody say to you how amazing you are, and then they treat you with so much love and respect, especially if you haven't had that in the past, and they're giving you this love, which is called love bombing. They're giving you all of this. You're so amazing. Here's flowers. Here's a gift. Here's this. Here's that. So much love and intensity of emotion, and you buy into this. And it's insidious. It's very subtle, because it happens over a period of time. So after a while, all those compliments and all that love bombing gives way to usually verbal abuse, like, how can you be so stupid? small things, and that progresses and gets worse, builds up to the point where this person is being incredibly verbally violent and emotionally violent with you, maybe even physically violent. And what I have heard, and what I experienced myself, is what usually happens is that very first night or very first week where you move in, or just after you've got married to the person, but where they've got you, that's when the real face of the person emerges, and they start full on with abuse. And abuse is a cycle, because you would have the physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse happen, and then it'll come down to, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, won't happen again. Here's flowers and gifts and chocolates and hugs and love bomb, love bomb, love bomb. And then honeymoon period, and then it happens again. So it goes around in circles. So you keep thinking, when you are in that place, when something terrible happens, I can't take this anymore. And then here comes the love bombing, and you're thinking, okay, maybe this time it'll be different. It's not. This time, there is no time when it will be different. This is the cycle. This is how it's going to be. And in my case, I was very slowly cut off from my friends, but in a very interesting way, because I was told that there were racial slurs against all my friends, and I felt that I shouldn't hang out with them to protect them from hearing these racial and body shaming slurs and that this person was busy putting out, because I just thought, if I hang out with them, when I come back, I'll just hear how fat and ugly and this and that this person is. So there's that isolation from your support group and from your family and friends. This may be in varying degrees of intensity. And one of the things we don't talk about when it comes to domestic abuse is the sexual aspect, because what happens is that person may force their partner to perform sex with them, and it is sometimes in a subtle way, sometimes it's quite blatant, flat out rape, but sometimes it's in a more coercive kind of way, where you feel that in order to not upset this person, or to make them angry, or to save yourself more grief later on, you'll give in. You don't really want to, but you'll give in. And this is what the term, I think, grey rape sort of refers to, is that you want to, that desire not to have sex, but you're doing so that you can prevent further crap happening down the line, or you may even instigate a sexual encounter purely so that you can calm the person down, as a means, as a tool to sort of just bring them back down, because you'll do everything. And why do women not leave, or people not leave? It's a complex question, because a lot of the time we are so broken down. We've been told, and I can guarantee you, almost everybody who's been through that situation will tell you that you've been told that you're worth nothing. No one will want you. I'm doing you a favor because I'm with you. Nobody else would want you, and I've got you, so I'm doing you a big favor here. And your self-esteem is so broken, and you've been so cut off from the support. In many cases, women have been, or men, or I'm sorry, I'm just referring to women because I am a woman. You've been forced into this belief that nobody's going to help you because your friends have been cut off from you, your family's been cut off from you, you're embarrassed, you're ashamed of what's happened. You also don't know how to get out of it, especially if you don't have any financial support. If you've given up all your work and everything, and they've got control over the finances, where do you go? You don't have a place you can rent. You don't have a place you can go to. You don't have a safe place to go into. So it's incredibly difficult. And this is why I think it's incredibly important to reach out to someone, anyone, somebody at work, somebody anywhere, and just say, look, this is my situation. I need help. Because these things, even if they don't start out violent, they could easily and quickly get violent. And women and men, I'm saying women because I'm a woman, but people have lost their lives. People have lost their lives because their partner has lost their shit and murdered their partner. And the same would go for children. I believe that is exactly the same kind of situation that they find themselves in with the love bombing and all this. And we've also heard the stories of people who've killed their children in a fit of domestic rage. And how does this relate to trauma? Well, the reality is that while you are in that situation, you are being constantly traumatized on a daily basis. In one of my videos, I talked about complex PTSD. So when you are in a domestic abuse situation, whether you are an adult or a child, you are experiencing trauma on a daily basis. When you come out of that situation, that trauma has not disappeared unless you take steps to go and get therapy, get help, talk to people. That trauma is not going to disappear, and it's going to color a lot of the aspects of your life, because trauma doesn't disappear after the event, especially in a domestic violence situation. It will continue. You will continue reliving those events in your mind. Certain things you would avoid certain things if they were involved in somehow with your domestic abuse. You will avoid those. You will also find it difficult to reestablish relationships. And if you have been in a domestic violence situation, and if you've grown up in a home where there has been abuse of some kind, you're more likely to fall back into that pattern if you don't get help. And the thing that I found was it's so tempting to want to jump straight into another relationship after all this, because you want some healing, you want some love. And when we do that, we don't actually look at what the consequences of that might be. Yes, it might be a positive relationship, but we're bringing all that baggage with us. We haven't dealt with it. We're lonely, we want love, but I would say give yourself some time. Give yourself some time to heal, because that's the thing that helped me. I was an idiot. I'll be perfectly honest, straight up. I was a complete idiot. I went from this situation with this person where it was mental, spiritual, emotional, psychological, financial, and sexual abuse. I gave myself 6 months, and then I found myself in a relationship with an alcoholic, which was a different kind of situation of abuse. Again, with the financial abuse and the mental and the verbal and all that. And really, I should have taken the time to get help and healing, and taken the time to actually rebuild myself, to become myself again, because you lose parts of who you are in this situation. You forget who you are. You become so codependent and trauma bonded to this person that you actually lose sight of who you are, because while you're in that situation, that domestic violence situation, you become the person that the partner wants you to be, that you think would be the best option for this person to keep yourself safe, to keep your children safe. A lot of us, do that so that we will agree with the most outrageous statements, even if they don't line up with our personal beliefs, simply to avoid being hurt. physically or mentally or whatever, by this person. We will actually compromise our standards and our virtues and our ideas and our values just so that we could have a moment of peace or avoid serious repercussions. It's hard. But there is help. There is a way out of it. First and foremost, reach out to somebody, even if the person that you reach out to is your doctor or your nurse. If you have had severe physical abuse, find a way to alert the doctor or nurse who is treating you. If you are experiencing emotional and mental abuse, reach out to somebody, anybody that you feel you can trust, and talk to them and say, I need your help. I need a strategy to get out of here. Because often we are so afraid. We are so afraid because there might be violence towards our bodies. We're afraid we may be murdered. I mean, my domestic abuse relationship. I remember it ended kind of when I had hands around my throat. I was being choked. And this person's mother was right there next, watching, hopping from one foot to another, doing nothing. And I started to laugh because I thought, this is how I'm going to die. And this is freaking hilarious because I'm being choked and this person's mother standing there watching. She wasn't laughing. She was watching and doing nothing. Nothing. So that's what actually ended the whole situation, and I got out of there, and here I am. But reach out to somebody. Work out a strategy with somebody. Even if you haven't spoken to a family member in a long time, reach out to them and organize a strategy. You would be surprised how many people will actually be in your corner to pull you out and to help support you. And then once you're out, and this is incredibly important, once you're out, don't dive back into another situation with somebody. Take the time to heal. Take the time to find out who you are really. Take the time to get counseling and to heal your wounds, whether they're physical or mental or financial, before you make any decisions to get involved with somebody again. And it'll be tempting because you'll feel lonely and broken, and you'll feel like nobody loves you because you've believed these lies. So I hope that today's trauma video has been helpful. I would like to hear your comments. If you have any questions, if there's anything that you feel I've left out and you want me to cover, I will be happy to do that. So please leave your comments below. Contact me if you have any questions, and I wish you happy healing and make good things happen.